And yell at me, see if the camera will pick it up, okay?
75 tons of combat power, 4 soldiers, and 12 hours of routine that prepares them for a single 9-second engagement. This is what a day looks like inside an M1A2 Abrams crew. Let's go inside. The crew of 4 who runs this machine, the Abrams, doesn't drive itself. It takes 4 people to turn this 75-ton machine into a functional weapon system, and each person has one job they've trained years to master. Tank Commander sits in the right rear of the turret. He's the brain of the operation, scanning for targets, coordinating with other tanks, making split-second tactical decisions. Everything flows through him. Gunner sits front right in the turret, directly below the commander. His job is simple: acquire the target and put steel on it. He controls the main gun, the coax machine gun, and the fire control computer. When the commander says fire, the gunner makes it happen. Loader sits left side of the turret. His job is the most physically brutal on the tank, grabbing 55-pound shells from the ammunition rack, slamming them into the breech, and doing it fast enough to keep pace with combat. No automation. No mechanical assist. Just raw repetition and endurance. Driver sits front center in the hull, isolated from the rest of the crew. He can't see the turret. Can't see what's being fired. His entire world is the terrain ahead and the commands coming through his headset. Steering 75 tons of steel through mud, sand, or urban rubble without getting the tank stuck or throwing a track. 4 people. 4 completely different skill sets. And if any one of them fails, the entire crew is compromised. But before any of them can fight, they have to maintain. And that's where the real work begins. Pre-mission routine, PMCs aim the daily grind every single day before the tank moves. The crew runs PMCs. Preventive maintenance checks and services. 30 minutes minimum, sometimes longer if something's off. This isn't a quick walk around, it's a full mechanical inspection of every system that could kill the crew or strand the tank in hostile territory. The driver checks the tracks, looking for broken pins, worn pads, or loose connectors. Tracks can throw at high speed if tension isn't right, and when that happens, you're a stationary target. The loader checks hydraulic lines. Hundreds of feet of pressurized hoses running throughout the turret and hull. One tiny leak means loss of turret traverse or gun elevation. In combat, that's a death sentence. The gunner inspects the main gun, checking the bore for obstructions, verifying the stabilization system, ensuring the fire control computer is synced with the barrel. If the gun isn't bore-sighted correctly, the first shot misses, and there's rarely a second chance. The commander oversees everything while checking communication systems, Blue Force tracker, and thermal optics. If the tank can't talk to other tanks or can't see through smoke and dust, it's fighting blind. This is the routine nobody sees. The grease-covered hands, the bruised knuckles from working in tight spaces. The hours spent in the motor pool making sure every bolt is tight and every fluid level is correct. Because when the shooting starts, there's no time to fix what should have been checked in the morning. The turbine engine, 1,500 horses of complexity, the Abrams, is powered by the Honeywell AGT 1500 gas turbine engine. 1,500 horsepower. It's the same type of engine you'd find in a helicopter, and it's both the tank's greatest strength and its biggest maintenance burden. Gas turbines are incredibly powerful for their size. They provide instant torque, allowing the Abrams to accelerate from 0 to 30 miles per hour in under 7 seconds. That's faster than most SUVs. In a 75-ton tank. They're also multi-fuel capable. JP8 jet fuel, diesel, gasoline, the turbine will run on almost anything flammable. That flexibility is critical in combat logistics when fuel supplies are unpredictable. But here's the trade-off. Turbines are fuel hogs. The Abrams gets about half a mile per gallon under normal operations. Under combat load, it's worse. That means constant refueling. Constant logistics. and a massive fuel convoy just to keep a single tank company operational. The turbine also runs hot, extremely hot, which means the crew has to constantly monitor exhaust temps, check cooling systems, and ensure the air filtration isn't clogged. Desert environments are particularly brutal. Fine sand gets sucked into the intake and wears down turbine blades over time. Maintenance on the AGT 1500 requires specialized training. You can't just swap parts like a diesel engine. The crew needs support from dedicated mechanics, specific diagnostic equipment, and a steady supply chain of turbine components. It's a high-performance engine. But high performance comes with high cost. In fuel, in maintenance hours, in logistical overhead. Live fire training, the 9-second engagement window combat with the Abrams happens fast, brutally fast. From target identification to impact, a trained crew can engage and destroy a target in about 9 seconds. That 9-second window is everything, and crews train obsessively to shrink it even further. Here's how it works. Tank commander spots a target through his independent thermal viewer. He identifies it as hostile and designates it for the gunner. The gunner acquires the target through his primary sight, lasers it with the laser rangefinder to get exact distance, and the fire control computer instantly calculates the ballistic solution, accounting for range, wind, tank movement, target movement, even the temperature of the propellant. The commander gives the fire command. The gunner confirms acquisition. The loader slams around into the breach and yells up. The gunner pulls the trigger. The stabilization system keeps the barrel locked on target despite the tank moving at 40 miles per hour over rough terrain. Impact. Target destroyed. 9 seconds. From I see it to it's gone. Live fire training is where crews learn to execute that sequence under pressure. They're not shooting at stationary paper targets. They're engaging pop-up targets at varying ranges while the tank is moving, simulating the chaos of actual combat where nothing is predictable and everything happens at once. The goal is muscle memory. The commander shouldn't have to think about how to designate. The gunner shouldn't have to think about how to laze. The loader shouldn't have to think about which ammunition type to grab. It has to be automatic, because in combat, thinking takes too long. And if the crew hesitates for even 2 extra seconds, the enemy gets the first shot. And the Abrams, despite all its armor, is not invincible. Inside the turret, the 120mm M256A and the manual loaded debate the main gun is a 120mm M256 smoothbore cannon. Licensed from Rheinmetall in Germany, it fires 2 primary types of ammunition. M829 armor-piercing fins stabilized discarding sabot rounds for killing other tanks, and M830 high-explosive anti-tank rounds for everything else. Each round weighs 55 pounds. And the loader has to manually grab it from the ammunition rack, lift it, rotate it into position, and slam it into the breech. Then close the breech. Then yell up. To signal the gun is ready to fire. Under combat conditions, a good loader can do this in under 5 seconds. Do it wrong, and the round doesn't seat properly. The gun misfires. Or worse, the breech doesn't close and the tank can't fire at all. Here's the question everyone asks. Why doesn't the US use an autoloader like Russia does? Russian tanks use autoloaders to eliminate the need for a 4th crew member. It saves space, reduces crew size, and theoretically increases rate of fire. But the US chose manual loading for specific reasons. First, reliability. Autoloaders are mechanical systems. They jam, they break, they require maintenance. A human loader doesn't jam. He might get tired, but he doesn't break mid-combat. Second, flexibility. A human loader can visually inspect each round before loading it. He can switch ammunition types on the fly based on what the commander calls for. An autoloader is limited to whatever's preloaded in the carousel. Third, survivability. Russian autoloaders store ammunition in a carousel directly beneath the turret crew. If that carousel is hit, the entire ammunition load cooks off and the turret gets blown off the tank. The Abrams stores ammunition behind armored blast doors with blowout panels on top. If the ammo is hit, the explosion vents upward, away from the crew. Manual loading is slower than an autoloader in perfect conditions. But in the chaos of combat, with damaged systems and unpredictable threats, the US Army decided human adaptability beats mechanical precision. The logistics tale. Why 4 soldiers need 70 support personnel, here's the reality nobody talks about. For every 4-person Abrams crew in combat, there are approximately 70 support personnel and vehicles keeping that tank operational. Fuel trucks constantly resupplying because the turbine drains tanks fast. Ammunition carriers bringing fresh shells forward because combat depletes the ready rack. Maintenance crews performing repairs that the tank crew can't handle in the field. Recovery vehicles standing by to tow disabled tanks out of danger zones. The Abrams doesn't operate alone. It operates as part of a massive logistical ecosystem. And that ecosystem is the tank's biggest vulnerability. Cut the fuel supply, and the tank runs dry within hours. Cut the ammunition resupply, and the tank shoots itself empty. Cut the maintenance support, and mechanical failures pile up until the tank can't move. This is why modern armor warfare isn't just about the tank. It's about protecting the entire logistics network that keeps the tank fighting. Convoys. Supply routes. Forward operating bases. All of it. The tank is just the tip of the spear, but the spear needs a long shaft behind it to be effective. The M1A2 Abrams is 75 tons of steel, composite armor, and depleted uranium mesh. It has a 1,500 horsepower turbine engine, a 120mm smoothbore cannon, and enough firepower to destroy anything on the battlefield. But the tank is just metal. The crew is the weapon. 4 soldiers who train for years to execute a 9-second engagement, who spend 12 hours maintaining a machine that demands perfection, who operate as a single coordinated unit because individual failure means collective death. Next time, we're covering the Abrams X program, the US Army's prototype for the next generation of American armor. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Because the Abrams has dominated for 40 years, but nothing dominates forever.